Hi Vinyl community, John here again. It's my third video that I've made since coming back after the summer period, and I thought it was probably about time I continued my hard rock and heavy metal series, where I go through my hard rock and heavy metal albums from alphabetically A to Z. And the last one I did was M, and the one I did before that was on M. It just happens to be a lot of albums in the space of M, and so I'm going to continue with that. We're listening to side one of this. This is a double album, compilation album about Michael Schenker. So I'm playing first of all side one, which is stuff that he did in UFO. He was part of UFO. Started off in the Scorpions, and after UFO formed the Michael Schenker Group. After that he did Macaulay Schenker Group, and now I think it's Michael Schenker Group again. So that's what we're listening to. Pretty cool guitar work. There you go. So this is his first album for MSG, Michael Schenker Group. It's not a bad record. Came out in 81, I believe, no, 1980. I think pretty much all the records I have of his are on Chrysalis. Yeah, this is what you'd expect, really. It's quite a good 1980s or 1980 heavy metal record. So not a bad place to start. Second album by him, it's got a name on it, scribble, Michael Schenker Group, MSG. I think it's just called the Michael Schenker Group. This is the second album. When did this come out? In 81, I think. This is actually quite good. Better than the first one. Cozy Powell plays drums on this as part of the Michael Schenker Group, and the vocalist on this and the album before is a guy called Barden. Is it Richard Barden or someone? I'll tell you in a minute. And he actually performed on the first two albums. I might play a little snippet of this in a little while, because there's some really like hard rock on this, quite surprisingly hard for its time, I think. And I'll put that on in a little while. And then yeah, Gary Barden, that's who the vocals were, and he did this live album with MSG as well. One Night at Budokan. What can I say about this? I don't know. It's kind of, it's not one of the best recorded live albums I've ever heard. Put it that way. I mean, it's, personally I think it's muddy, but maybe that's just the pressing that I have. So after that, they got rid of Gary Barden and brought in another guy on vocals, Graham Bonnet. And Graham Bonnet was, you know, he'd been in Rainbow and stuff like that, and I like Graham Bonnet's vocals. I think he brings a kind of sense of class to whatever record he's sort of involved in, and he does that to this. It's not a bad record. Like I said, it feels like that. It feels like that sort of quality that he had on that Rainbow album. I can't remember what it was. I'll write it here. Anyway, this was produced by Martin Birch. In fact, this was the first album Martin Birch produced after he'd finished with A Number of the Beast for Iron Maiden. Bit of trivia there for you. Yeah, it's an overall sort of quality record, I think, in that regard. Now, surprisingly, after that, they brought on Gary Barden again. This is the next live album they did. Now you'd think this guy Gary Barden would be sort of, well, I'm not going to play with you again, you know, you gave me the sack and employed somebody else in my position. But for whatever reason he came back. It's another live album. Again, not the best quality recording, it's kind of muddy. And this is the 4th studio album, Built to Destroy. Now, this is a little bit disappointing because I think the first 3 studio albums are kind of progressively good. The second one I think is strongest, but the third one is kind of an improvement in quality, I think, generally all round. This one is coming in 83, 84ish, and it starts to get its sort of softer edges and start to bring in sort of keyboard, and the songs are a bit more sort of commercially viable sort of thing, you know, as if they're sort of looking to get a hit sort of stuff. Not a brilliant record, quite disappointing. Quite a cool cover I think, but no, the album's not the best. So after this album, MSG kind of ceased to be, and they formed, or he formed the next sort of incarnation of that group, called the Macaulay Schenker Group. So he joins up with this guy here, what's his name, Robert Macaulay, I think so, and Robin Macaulay. So Robin Macaulay, he basically came onto the scene when he was the vocalist in that what was that band that did the cover version of Stairway to Heaven? Yeah, Fire Corporation, that's who it was. So that was basically where he came from, vocalist for that. And for whatever reason, Michael Schenker agrees to change the name of his band to Macaulay Schenker rather than the Michael Schenker Group, Macaulay Schenker Group. And this was actually the very first record of Michael Schenker that I actually owned when I got. I think I read about it possibly in Music Press at the time, and was hoping that it was, or expecting maybe, that it was going to be something a bit like a Yngwie Malmsteen record, you know, with lots of fast guitar shredding and stuff like that. And it's not. Evidently, it was something a little different. And I remember being a bit disappointed with it, so I haven't really paid it that much attention. Paid it a few times on and off, hoping to kind of discover what's supposed to be so good about it, but otherwise it's sort of fallen in the back of my sort of collection because it's not what I expected it to be when I bought it. But now, looking back as a middle-aged man, I can tell you basically this is sort of come out in 87 I think, and it's sort of tapping into that American market. I've just read online that with the release of this they moved to live in America, probably LA, because they wanted to try and cash in on what was going on there, you know, like Bon Jovi had released Slippery When Wet, and Def Leppard had done Hysteria. A lot of those sort of big AOR rock bands were coming on the scene, and this is what this represents really, sort of trying to tap into that. The guitar work is not bad, it's just not what I thought it was going to be. But otherwise, there's a picture of what they look like, a big hair band basically. I mean, you can see, yeah, put them up against the 1987 group that made the Whitesnake album. And here's the next one, Macaulay Schenker Group. What's this called? Save Yourself. It's pretty much more of the same, really. I don't particularly enjoy it. Oh, it's got a nice inner sleeve. Custom label. MSG. And then I've got the next one on CD, and that is appallingly bad. I'm not even going to show it, but it's just the last record I think that they had on that record contract that they had. It feels like they've already stopped being a band, and the whole album is just an album of sort of rock, hard rock, metal cliches thrown together in the hope of having a hit somewhere. Not very satisfying. So that's that video. I think that completes my list of M's. I'll check and just come back. So that does complete my list of records, heavy metal and hard rock records that fall under M. And so I will stop here. I will say that I've noticed that there are some records that I have in my main collection that perhaps would fall under hard rock and heavy metal, that I haven't shown. I guess because in many ways I don't put them in that category in my mind, but bands like AC/DC, for instance, no, without a doubt a hard rock band, but I haven't included them in this sort of category. So perhaps at the end I'll go back and show any that I haven't shown the first time round. Okay, thanks everybody for watching, and look out for my next video. Bye.